how prepared would you be to discuss the vegetarian question that I had?
That's an easy one. I don't think that will take more than 30 seconds.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I might have. Okay. Well, let's talk about that first then, because we're not, because a lot of the time has been taken up with uh
Right.
our technical difficulties, and then we having the chat about the holidays. So we're so yeah, can we talk about that? Because I do have some questions about that probably as it whatever as it unfolds. So yeah, so my question basically around this has kind of always been, you know, the vegetarian question with Buddhism. I think it's a kind of a universal one. There's a lot of talk about that. I've seen in just in Buddhism in general about whether it's a requirement or not. And it does seem very clear, sort of in the just from the general I suppose you could say provisional teaching standpoint of the Maha Parinirvana Sutra, where I think there is somewhere where Buddha that Buddha said the followers are the I can't remember how it's put, but basically that um, followers of the teaching should be refraining from meat eating, and that sort of thing. Um,
Mhm.
And I mean, it does make sense, from the standpoint of the principles of Buddhism and the cosmology of Buddhism and the precepts, and do you know what I mean? And on and on. That would all be in line with, minimizing harm, and not
Well,
killing
it does
type of
depend
thing.
on what precepts you're talking about. I mean, the Vinaya doesn't say anything about eating meat except to forbid specific examples of meat eating.
Mm,
The Mahayana sutras and the Brahmajala Sutra, of course, the precepts for bodhisattvas do
hmm
enjoin abstinence from meat entirely. But throughout the history of Buddhist thought, there's been quite a diversity of viewpoints
hmm
on issue. Now
hmm
as Mahayana Buddhists, of course, um, we do accept the Mahayana sutras as
hmm
the uh, Buddha Vacana,
hmm
but at the same time, we have to also acknowledge the likely historical reality that the historical um, mendicant Gautama Buddha, the historical Buddha, did not forbid monks from eating meat, and may well have the implication, of course, is that although this is quite a point of debate between
hmm hmm
Mahayana and Hinayana, but
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
the Buddha himself most likely did, in fact, eat meat at
Mm,
some point. You know, um, but that's just the historical development of
mm.
things. The question is what I think the question you're asking is, what do we make of, say, the Mahayana restriction on eating
Yes.
meat? Should we all be vegetarians, for example, or
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, like that's my question in Jodo Shinshu, since obviously there's a lot of yeah. What is the sort of definitive Jodo Shinshu teaching about it? is kind of what my or understanding of it
right?
or interpretation or of
Well,
yeah.
unfortunately, there's probably no more definitive, um, you know, definition, I would say. Um, I'm just going to give you the facts, as it
Okay.
were, which is this is actually from the Buddhist Churches of America website, but it's a good, it pretty much just lays out what
Should we
the
share it? Do you want to share what you're looking at, or do you have?
I
Let me,
could.
yeah,
Yes.
let me,
Let me
I'll get it ready
see.
so you can share. Yep.
It's there's not
Because
much to
I,
share, but
yeah, I tried to look up some things on the internet. It was difficult
yeah.
to find, you know,
Oh, okay. I have a lot of source
good,
resources, so I could share some of them with you. Um,
perfect. There we go.
so
Good,
question: Are there any dietary or behavioral restrictions or rules in Shin Buddhism?
perfect.
There are no dietary or behavioral restrictions or rules in Shin Buddhism. A person can eat meat or fish or choose to be a vegetarian. A person can choose to drink wine or liquor or not. So the important thing to note here is it's a personal choice.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, and that is
So that's,
all it is.
yeah. So
It's
that's
not,
but what's that based on in sort of Shinron's writings or Renyo's writings, or do you see what I mean? How has it come to that? That's what I want to, that's what I need to kind of understand is how it came to that, you know.
yeah. Um, well, there is a rather lengthy passage in Kakunyo Shonin's Kudinsho. Um, or now that I think of it, it might have been the Gai Jasho, but that does it's one of the rare instances where uh meat eating is sort of addressed in the literature, so to speak.
Okay. And that was, and whose writings was that again? Sorry. It was,
And that would be Kakunyo Shonin. He was the I believe the second Monshu, basically, of the Honganji. He was um, Shinron's nephew, I believe. Um, and that does address eating meat, of course. But as a broader, I think, um, from maybe a broader perspective, you do have to remember that the majority of Buddhists historically have not been vegetarian. And probably the most vegetarians are not Buddhists. um, of
yeah,
course, there are vegetarian
yes,
Buddhists.
yes. And there seems to be, it's really interesting. Um, I want to be very careful how I word this because I don't want to, the people who make a big deal about being vegetarian or vegan, there's
Mhm.
there seems to be a lack of other accompanying principles. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
to their lives, when it comes to kind of, I don't know, things that in Buddhism we would address, like the ego and, do you know what I mean?
right.
And
Yeah,
ignorance
yeah, yeah,
and our
yeah.
arrogance and our,
Right.
there seems to be a complete lack of that, in fact, um, especially the more outspoken uh, vegans or vegetarians stomping around being self-righteous,
Yes,
both in
yes.
within Buddhism and without, actually.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and that's one of that's a huge, thing I think in Jodo Shinshu that I love about Jodo Shinshu is you go through a process of kind of some ego deflation, because it's kind of part of the natural
Yes.
process, I think,
Yeah.
of the, Amitas kind of working, because the light is shown on your Bono, on your ignorance, your own, do you know what I mean? And the depth of that.
Self-centeredness, self-centered. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
And so you're wrestling with that, you're seeing that, you're denying it, you're you're not seeing it, then you're seeing it, and you're like, okay, and so that kind of, there's a kind of ego deflation, I think, that happens with that. So that, and you realize the first thing, I have this, I need to sort myself out. Not myself, well, not myself, but you know what I mean? Amita
Right.
needs to sort me out so I can go to Pure Land, and then I can be helpful to people. Do you know what I mean? So
And
if I
it's
have, and if
interesting,
I have that
right?
attitude first, so if I have that, if I come to that point first, then I'm not with social ills or political things or whatever, stomping around self-righteously, arrogantly, demanding, you know,
Mm,
this is the way it should be, and this is what, we should be doing compassionately to help people. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, I'm not. It's a different attitude once you come at it from the. Do you see what I mean? Seeing you're a Bombu first.
yes.
So anyway, so that's something I really, I love about kind of Jodo Shinshu and Buddhism. Well, it's really Buddhism. That's really Buddhism, really. I think you have to. I think any school of Buddhism, and Jodo Shinshu are part of that. There's that deflation first. If you truly are looking at, if you're really trying to embrace the teachings, do you see what I
Yeah.
mean? There's that ego deflation before, and then okay, now I can, if I'm going to do the whole, engaged Buddhism thing, it's a different attitude that I do it with.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well,
Um,
and it's a deeper awareness of oneself as, you know, uh, a person who's, you know, like we talked about a lot, the awareness of oneself as an evil person
yeah,
in the
yes,
spirit in the religious sense in the Tawny
exactly.
shows
Yep,
of that meaning
yep.
is that, like Conan said, all of the actions of our body, speech, and minds uh, just lead us further into birth and death.
Mm,
I actually just shared the something from Nagarjuna's Juju Bibasharon, the commentary on the discourse on the stages of the Bodhisattva. And,
yeah.
you know, he makes this great point, it's called the path of Bombu, the path of foolish beings, or probably we should just translate it as the path of ordinary worldlings. Um, only leads to samsara, to birth
Yep,
and death. That's why it's
exactly.
called. And then the super mundane path is that which leads to
Exactly.
nirvana.
Yeah,
But becoming
definitely.
aware of oneself as, you know, and I agree with you. I do believe there are definitely people who choose to be vegetarian. It's a personal choice, and they may
Hmm.
do it for many reasons. I think compassion is a good and valid reason. I think people do it because they're concerned
Yeah,
with
yeah, sure.
animal cruelty and so on and so forth. And that, like, again, as I just read, that's that person's choice that they have
Hmm.
made, with
Hmm.
their conscience and so forth, and it's their decision, and that's perfectly fine. But I do become concerned if people start telling other people, well, you need to not eat meat, like I don't eat meat.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's the way it ought to be, because
Yeah.
now we have the ego making its grand appearance, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
You
Exactly.
you need to be doing what I am doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And and what I am doing is by implication
The right
better
thing.
than what
Yeah.
you want.
Exactly. I mean, I've heard some vegans take it even as far as like, yeah, yeah, like really crazy stuff, like
Well, there are
that,
some really
almost
radical.
eugenics level,
I
like,
mean, yeah,
like we,
yeah,
you need to try to, let's make sure we have children so that they're vegan. And do you know what I mean? And we need to, so that we we
yeah.
outbreed meat eaters. And do you know what I mean? Like really crazy stuff. Like it's just the internet.
Uh, yeah,
What would
yeah.
we do
There's
without
well,
it?
a thicket of views, a thicket
Ticket
of
of
views.
views, indeed, indeed. So anyway, coming back to let's come back to so the second Monshu, is that what you said? He was this that we were talking about?
Yeah,
Kukogyo
yeah.
Shonen? Um,
Hakunyō, yeah.
Kakunyo. So what does he say? Is there something what does he, or is that
Yeah,
too long a thing to look at?
it's a little lengthy, but it's not too long. We
Okay.
could certainly dig into it. Um, Basically, you do need to know a little bit about sort of, the Buddhist culture, I guess, at the time,
Hmm. Hmm.
of Shinran, which is there were, of course, monks who were, for example, in Tindai, who were expected to be strictly vegetarian. They were expected to strictly uphold the Brahmacharya precepts.
Mm.
Um, but then there were also what were called lay monks, or lay ordained, called Nudo. And they were not necessarily expected to uphold um, all of the precepts that would have been expected for, a Tendai monk, for example, right? Being, lay,
Mm.
essentially sort of ordained lay persons. Um, so with that background, we could sort of look at this
I,
story about Shinran.
okay. I've brought up I found while we were talking, I found this um on Richard Sinclair's website, his um that he still has up about, for Jodo Shinshu,
Yeah.
which is
Uh-huh.
amazing, which is lovely. I hope, if you're listening or if you hear about this, Richard, we are so grateful that you have left all of that up and available to us all. Because there's a lot of really good things that he has put
Oh yeah,
together
for
on
sure.
there
Right.
over the years. So grateful for that. But anyway, I found the scrolls compiled by Kakunyo.
Oh, okay. Could you
Is
share
it
the
within
spreadsheet?
that? Yeah, is it within that that we're
Well, it might, I'm not sure which one you're
I'll
talking
share. I'll
about. So,
share. Yeah, bear with me a sec. Let me get here. There we go. And uh yeah, share screen. Yeah, go. Okay. So this is what I found.
oh yeah. Okay, okay. Yep.
So is it
Um,
within?
yeah, it's not, I don't believe it's in the Godin show. This is the biography of
Right,
Shinran Shonen.
okay. Okay, so
Um,
I found this just because of Coquinho is probably
yeah.
why this search
the-
came that came up. Yeah. Okay.
well, and this is one of the major works of
Mm,
his. And but the particular um story that I am referring to is actually in, what is it in? Hold on.
okay. Let's see if I can
It's called the Kudin Show.
the credential.
And the Kudin Show is the sort of the oral history of Shinran that was given to Kakunyo by his father, who was uh,
It,
let me see if I can
it
find.
isn't that's
Uh,
not part of these one sec, let me what that so that's not part of these scrolls then. Are you there?
no, it's a separate text
Okay.
from the Gibson show, but
Okay.
it's basically the stories that Shinran Shonin told to Nyoshin, who was Kakunyo's father.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, and that is what is
Okay.
contained.
Well, if you could, don't worry about finding it. So if you could just talk about that, then what did Kunio Shunyan say about all this, or
Right.
in the
So
end? Yeah.
maybe I should just read the story and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
come
Definitely. Yeah.
and
That's
sort
good.
of
Can
talk about it.
if you have it now, yeah, share it definitely. And if you have that, is it something you can share or no
Well,
on screen?
unfortunately, I don't think I have Kindle installed on my
Oh, don't
computer.
worry then. Yeah, you
Really
just read
quick.
it. Yeah, just read it then. Yeah. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Good.
Okay, we'll have to just read
Yeah.
it aloud.
Yeah. Just read it aloud. Yeah. Yeah. Please.
Um,
Please do. Yeah.
okay, so chapter 8 of the Kudensho.
Yeah.
When Shurinosuke Tokiyuji, the father of Zenmon of Saimyoji, Hojo Tokiyori, who lived from 1227 to 1263, held political power, he initiated a project transcribing the entire Buddhist sutra collection. In seeking wise and learned monks to proofread this edition, Nyudo, or lay monk, Muto Saimon, and Yadoya, their real names are unknown, by chance called upon Shinran Shonin, urging him to participate. And presumably this was around the time when Shinran was residing in Inada in Hitachi province, which is present-day Ibaraki prefecture. The shonin, Shinran, agreed to help. During the project, the vice shogun befriended the shonin, Shinran. Once he held a banquet attended by several warlords who feasted on various delicacies. Unlike traditional priests who adhered to strict vegetarianism, Shinran Shonin simply took his place among ordinary Mudo, or lay monks, and commoners not hesitating to eat fish and poultry. Pickled fish was served, and he partook as usual. During this time, he wore a Buddhist kesa, or a kashaya. Do I need to explain what the kesa is?
No, 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 no. It's fine. Yeah. Well,
It's
I don't,
essentially
but unless you want to, yeah. In
Buddhist
case people listening
robe. Right?
don't,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah. In case people
Well,
listening don't, go ahead and
it's
describe.
just a monk's robe.
Yeah.
So monk's
Yeah. Exactly.
Buddhist robe.
Mhm.
Okay, so there he is. He's seated with the Nudo and the commoners, not with the monks, and not hesitating to eat fish. And he's wearing his kesa. 9-year-old. This is kind of a funny story, by the way. 9-year-old Kaiju, the Zenmon of Saimyoji, pointed and quietly whispered to the shonin Shinran, "See those Nudo? Whenever they eat fish, they remove their kesa. Zinshi," that's Shinran's name. "Why do you wear your kesa when eating? How strange." So this little boy is like, kind of, sort
I,
of asking Shinran,
being,
why do you not remove your kesa like the Nudo, the other lay monks do?
I love that his name is Kaiju. It's like
Kaiju.
a
Yeah, not
little monster.
yeah, not a kaiju.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Sorry. Just kidding. Sorry.
Well, I thought the
Anyway.
same things. Okay. The shonin Shinran said, "Those Nudo are used to grand feasts and conscientious about removing their queso when eating. I rarely have a chance to enjoy such a feast, so I forgot." This is so funny. Kaiju said, "What you say doesn't sound right. There must be another reason. Or do you joke because you think I am still a child?" And then Kaiju withdrew. So Kaiju, the little boy thought, he was being made fun of, basically,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
Shinran, because he's little, right? Another time, so the story continues. Another time, Shonin again served himself fish while wearing a kesa. Again, Kaiju, the same little boy, approached the Shonin and asked the same question. Again, the shonin answered he simply forgot. This time, Kaiju said, I don't think you forgot. You may feel a child's mind can't understand anything deep and think it pointless to explain, but tell me the truth, he insisted. Imagine this scene, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at that point, the shonin felt he could not slip away. There's no escaping this. Facing the child, he answered, rare is it to be born as humans, yet we sacrifice other living things to satisfy our craving for the taste of flesh. This is something we should never do, and even the Nyorai Tathagata sets forth strict precepts against it. However, living beings of the present age, dwelling in the defiled world of the latter Dharma, live in a preceptless time. There are neither those who uphold precepts nor those who violate them. As a result, although I shave my head and wear the robes of a priest, my heart is identical to the ordinary worldly masses, and I eat these things. Oh, if only this strong urge to eat were instead transformed into liberation of these tasty living things. My title, Shakushi, which is an ordained disciple of Shakyamuni, is of little consequence. With a heart steeped in worldly life dust, that's an odd translation, but the dust of worldly life,
Mm-hmm.
my wisdom is not and my merits none. What can I possibly do to save these living beings? In this regard, there is my kesa, a holy vestment symbolic of all Buddhas, liberated in the past, present, and future. While wearing this vestment, its merits exert the vow's wish to save all living beings while eating. When you believe invisible forces watch over us, there's no need to be concerned over how we appear in the eyes of others, however utterly shameless and unconscionable. This is the reason. This explanation moved and pleased young Kaiju. And the Shenron later stated, the person born to lead a nation demonstrates ability even from youth to bring forces of beings together under a single universal order, blah, blah, blah. That's the end of that chapter from the Kudinsho. So that is one of the rare instances where sort of, I guess you could say, meat eating or vegetarianism is sort of directly addressed in
Mm.
Shin Buddhist
Yeah.
literature. Other than that,
Now that's does cover a lot. We should definitely, when we have a time, I think we should go over this again and unpack this whole thing because there's so much in that. I think worth
yeah, there's a lot. There is a
discussing.
lot.
Starting with well, first of all, that I like the three questions. I forgot, and then
Yeah,
he answers kind of he's being very kind of like the pattern of the Buddha sometimes when he would give sutras is like
yeah.
was it in the Lotus Sutra they had to ask like three times
Uh-huh.
before he relented and said okay I'll tell you. you know
Right.
um um
Yeah.
it's
And
what I mean, it's sort of that thing, and then that he said I forgot, it's kind of like um that's kind of highlighting our Bombu state, in Mapo a bit,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that in and of itself. Um, but yeah, there's a lot in there that I think definitely we should. I mean, I knew that this would be a long topic, but
Yeah. There is
or it could
certainly a
be a
lot
long topic, I should
to
say. But
unpack within that little text.
yeah, because
But
it's something I just have a really difficult. I just, one part of me thinks, okay, I should be completely vegetarian. You know,
mhm.
um, especially when I'm sitting there, you know, when I'm stripping a carcass, do you know what I mean? After like a chicken carcass,
Carving
when
the
I'm
roast. carving the roast beast.
Yeah, it's just like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Um, and uh, yeah, so you know, um, so there's part of me that like I've been a vegetarian before when I was on my own, you know, but it's hard when you're, you know, my wife is not vegetarian and she cooks for both of us, and do you know what I mean? And she literally can't do the vegetarian diet herself. She can't would her body just can't
Right.
handle all the legume, you know, the
Yeah. Yeah.
the legumes and everything, the you know,
Yeah.
what do you call it? You know what I mean? The protein, you know, the
Right.
types of the plant-based protein. It's just he can't. And and then there's, you know, health issues, you know, like um around a vegetarian diet, you know,
Right.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
that, you
Well,
know,
it's
so
funny.
it's you know, like with me, you know, I wonder, you know, like anyway, yeah, there's just there's so many things about this that
Well,
uh
don't hold back. I mean, I would say what you were gonna say.
you know, there's well, it's the, you know, um there's aspects of the human existence in samsara, right?
Hmm.
Uh Particularly those of us, you know, humans that were born or evolved or however it all worked in the kind of five turbidities kalpas, you know, you know, we, you know, we're not, I don't think we're built to eat as much meat as we do culturally speaking for just about any culture. Um, but we're still built to eat meat. Do you know what I mean? And if we don't,
Right. Right. Yeah.
a certain amount of meat, uh, there's issue, you know, there can be physical issues for some people, quite serious ones. Um, and
Yeah.
also there's issues around, like, say, someone who's diabetic and being
Mm.
vegetarian, that, you know, all those carbohydrates, and do you know what I mean? Um,
Right.
and getting that balance, you know, so there's, you know, not so it's like that, it's that typical samsaric mappo rock on a hard place of, you know, of samsaric existence, you know, is
Yeah.
you know, yeah, we, you know, part of the thing is we, you know, we're meant to not bring harm to others, but or to our, you know, try to minimize harm to others and to ourselves. And it's like, well, you know, if I'm, you know, if some people are vegetarian, they might harm themselves by doing so. Um, while not harming, you know, while reducing harm to others. Do you see what I mean? Um, but then there's the whole, um, you know, even a plant-based diet, all that goes into that, the growing and cultivating of vegetables and things, there's all kinds of organisms.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's all kinds of organisms and insects and the earth itself
Yeah.
that still, because of the way our agriculture is, we're harming the earth itself. Do you know what I mean? Even with just a plant-based diet. So it's just like you can't do you see what I mean? To feed this many of us, and you know, so
Well, that's why
it's
it's
kind of,
called, you know, samsara, right?
yeah,
And you can't
exactly,
escape from
exactly.
the interconnectedness of all things. All things exist. We exist, so to speak, at the I don't want to say at the expense, that sounds sort of economical and
Yeah,
cold, but we you know, like Reverend Ray pointed out, there's no life without the taking of life
yeah,
in
or
this.
cost to others. There's always a
There's always
cost
there's a cost, yeah, yeah.
for our very existence. Yeah, there's always harm and cost just by us existing in samsaric existence. You know, something else suffers because we
And so the way that is addressed in the Shin Buddhist tradition, in Japan especially, is with the words that we say before the meal that we receive.
mm,
Um, and that is, um, I so I'm just loosely translating, but something to the effect of I with gratitude to all of life that that I am hereby receiving, you know,
Mm, mm,
in this meal
mm-hmm,
that is sustaining me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I give thanks to and for that precious life.
Mm,
And that's what the meaning of itadakimasu.
yeah,
I gratefully receive
yeah.
in Japanese is. And that's an acknowledgement that, sorry, I'm actually getting a little emotional. This is
Mm-hmm.
quite rare.
No, no, I
um,
understand. Yeah.
it's an acknowledgement that uh, I'm not living alone in
Mm-hmm,
this world,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I am being, my life is being given to me
Mm,
as a gift in so many ways, and especially in the food that we
mm,
consume.
yeah.
So anyway, man, I
Yeah,
very
no,
rarely
that's
get that emotional about things, but for some reason that really hit me just there.
it struck
A
you.
a
No,
little
I think it's good.
Dharma
No, it's good. Yeah. Yes, a Dharma moment there.
Dharma moment.
I understand. Believe me, I probably have them. I think I tend to have the more those kind of getting choked up moments quite a bit. So I yeah, I completely under. Are you still? Can you
Yeah,
hear me? I just had a
I
funny.
can. Yeah. Yep.
My volume is being turned down. What? What? Something is something is actually turning down my volume right now.
Oh, really? Can you hear me still?
I have to keep turning up my volume. It's being turned down for some reason automatically. I think I've got some kind of. There, it stopped now. That was very weird. Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, that was very weird. I have no idea what was going on there. It's happening again.
Is it a wireless headset?
No, it's not. I think there must be either something viral going on or it's been hacked or something. That was very weird. Very weird. Anyways,
Oh
um,
dear. Could be the something from outer space.
wow, that was so weird. That was very weird. And it's happening again. Anyway, it's just the wow.
Is there some sort of touch
Oh,
control
I
for
know what it was. I figured it out. Yeah, on my I was leaning on there's a on the headset itself.
yeah.
There's a there's a thing on there. And
Problem
that's I was
solved.
leaning on it. It was on my it was on my leg and I was sort of leaning on, do you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
I'm not
Uh,
always Sherlock Holmes, but
wow.
sometimes.
I was looking around too. I was like, am I leaning? Am I leaning? And I just didn't even see it. I didn't even think about that thing
Yeah.
on the wire. Do you know what I mean? On the lead. There's a little thing. Anyway, oh dear. Anyways, but
So
yeah,
I have what
what
I
that prayer, that not prayer, but that expression of gratitude
Mhm.
before a meal reply, I would say applies to everything that you're eating, whether it's vegetarian or not. Um,
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah. It applies to everything and
so
yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like maybe it's one of those things that I think has to happen. Something has to occur in the natural course of you know the working,
Hmm.
um, like it has with other things in my life, for me to be able to make a decision about it or view it. But I just wanted to understand what the Jodo Shinshu teaching is about it, and just as much of that as I can read and discuss that, so that
Right.
hopefully, eventually
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that process I'll come, because there's part of me is like, oh, I just wish, I'd rather just be, okay, I'm just vegetarian. I'm Buddhist, I'm vegetarian. That's it. Don't think about it anymore. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of, then I don't have to think about it, even though I can at least say, and that way I can say, well, okay, I'm reducing harm as much as I can, even though it's still harmful for me to exist.
Mhm.
Do you see what I mean? At least I'm doing everything I could possibly do in that regard. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Um,
I wouldn't view, I wouldn't say it's harmful for you to exist. I would more say
yeah,
recognize recognize that your existence is, you know, interdependent on
yeah, all
all things,
things. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Recognize that would be probably how
Yeah.
I would phrase it.
More
I think
positive way to put it than basically
maybe a little
everything,
bit more,
and everything else is as harmful as I am.
yeah.
um,
But and then, I do have to relate a funny story. The Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, as probably a lot of people know, he is not vegetarian, and part of it is at the advice of his doctors for reasons you mentioned earlier, health and so on. But there was this funny incident where Paul McCartney, um, who I guess is a very committed vegetarian. I
mm,
didn't know that. I suppose he is. He sort of like took the Dalai Lama to task and said, well, actually, you can totally abstain from meat and you'll be perfectly fine. And I thought, you know, a former pop star lecturing an enlightened master
exactly.
on um, his diet is just too so very the time in which we live,
Exactly, exactly. Well, it's like the ones that want to go on about the preach about the environment, but yet they're flying around in their jets all the time, their personal,
Yeah,
jets and things,
yeah, yeah,
who want to
exactly.
preach to us about, their,
Yeah,
what I mean? This is classic hypocrisy, but anyway, or just classic arrogance, I should say. Arrogance, it's that
yeah,
arrogance of the pop star or the celebrity, you know.
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it's
But I don't think there's any easy answer. And like you said, I
no,
think there are things you have to um decide and come to term in, for yourself. A lot of
yeah,
times there aren't, especially in Buddhism, there aren't these like pre-packaged easy answers.
no,
It's
no,
the dynamic working and nature of the Dharma means that we actually have to engage with it and then find, the answer.
mm,
But
mm,
um, but again, that is a personal thing. We don't in Jodo Shinshu, we certainly don't make any statement or
yeah,
rule that you have to um, do one or the other. But there's a lot more factors to consider than just simply, am I eating meat or not? Like if your wife is making you a dish with love and good intentions,
hmm
and that dish includes meat,
hmm
then it's actually it would be quite un-Buddhist to refuse
yeah,
that dish.
yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly,
Then you're actually harming someone in another way.
yeah,
And
exactly,
like you said, it's interesting. Um, Once we're made aware through the shining of the light of Amita's wisdom, of our own ego, and just how far the rabbit hole goes, so to
hmm
speak.
hmm
You know,
yeah,
that that our ego
Yeah.
tumbles down, we become more awakened to these sorts of things that
Yeah.
otherwise we
Yeah.
might not become aware of, right?
Yeah. True.
Um, and that's not to make any kind of recommendation, but
No.
it's just
No.
something
Yeah.
to keep in mind or
Yeah.
to consider, I guess.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, it is a big question. I said we could
Yeah.
probably answer in 30 seconds, but what I meant was the answer is not that long, but
Mm.
the deeper, implications and so on, of
Mm-hmm.
course, much more
Yeah.
ongoing, you could say.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just something it wasn't going to be I didn't think there'd be an easy, quick answer to this one, even though I wish there would be. Um,
Yes, well, you know the drill by now.
exactly.
Nobody, there's no infallible person who has all the answers, at least not in
Exactly.
this.
Yeah, and it might, it might be I just, this question keeps going, for a while, or it could be like my question about the whole, when I finally asked the question about addiction, the addiction stuff and talked about that, and then
Mm,
like 2 weeks later,
it resolved.
it was kind of cleared that
Yeah,
question and that doubt or that calculation or whatever it was cleared,
yeah.
but yeah, anyways.
And maybe
But I
you
think
will
it's a
decide
similar
to.
thing with this. I think, when we turn, what we brought up in that actual discussion, those discussions
Mm,
about from that section 20 of Lamp for the Latter Ages, um, or the letter 20 or whatever it is, where it talks about, how when you begin to see the light, you begin to encounter and meet as light, you
hmm.
naturally, eventually start to naturally turn away from evil, naturally not want to take the poison, naturally. Do you see what I mean? And so I
Right.
think there'll be some way that in that flow of things that this will be resolved, if you see what I mean, um,
Yeah.
for me.
One recommendation I think I can make, because
Yeah.
it's neutral in regard to um, whatever your personal choice ends up
Yeah.
being, but
Yeah.
it's also kind of imperative within our tradition is the practice of gratitude.
Yes.
We no matter what you are receiving as your food,
Mm.
whether it's meat, whether it's
Gratitude
vegetable,
for it.
whatever it is, practice, maybe begin a practice of gratitude for
Hmm.
that which you are receiving.
Definitely.
And this extends this in Buddhism, this goes a little bit beyond just, you know, uh, saying grace.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
actual, it's not just gratitude for the meal, it's actually gratitude to the meal,
Hmm.
in addition to, of course, the people who have made it, the
Hmm.
people who have all of the causes and conditions that
Mm.
that go into that meal,
Hmm.
which you are then receiving.
Mm. And
And
then,
I think it's
yeah.
important to reflect on that, and then receive it with humility and gratitude for
Mm.
um
Hmm.
that meal.
The
That's kind of
nourishment.
the
Yeah.
real spirit behind I
Yeah. If you
think,
can send me the Jodo Shinshu, if you, if there's somewhere where where that's actually, the Jodo Shinshu,
yeah.
framing of it that's written down somewhere. If you can send that to me. I like that it's also, the Buddhist way of expressing that gratitude. It's an acknowledgement of our state as, in samsara.
Right.
Do you see what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yep.
It's acknowledgement of our bono, of our ignorance, of our, and at the same, it makes us even more grateful that. Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
That this is actually, you know, been
Right.
provided.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. exactly.
And so, I can understand, your emotional reaction to that from that,
Yeah, that was unexpected, but
that's kind of how it strikes me as,
sometimes sometimes something will just hit you,
yeah,
and you
I
sometimes you
understand.
don't know when
Yeah,
or when or
yeah,
how it will.
exactly, exactly. But it is that, that's what I like about Buddhism. It's like, it's that, it's the
It
expression
knocks
of
your
gratitude,
thoughts
but
off.
it's the humility as well, of looking at,
Yeah,
it's a reflection on our state of affairs, like that we're even in samsara, and uh, that we have to, do you know what I mean? Um,
yep, yep.
and all the implications of that. Um, so yeah, yeah. So okay, yeah. So that's, yeah. I'll do that as well. I'll start to incorporate that, because I don't really do that. I do it every once in a while, but I don't really at mealtime. I don't. That's never been a regular habit of mine to have that
Yeah.
sort of gratitude, acknowledgement, and
Well,
like a
I don't
gratitude reflection at
either all the time.
meal times. But yeah, I think that's a good thing to do. I think, along these
Yeah, it is
lines.
it's a simple, just a simple habit, a practice of gratitude that also, brings us to a deep awareness, like you said, of ourselves
Hmm. Hmm.
as we truly,
Hmm.
exist in this, the interdependence of all things,
Hmm.
all life, birth and death itself, So yeah, I think it's
Okay,
certainly something I can uh,
cool.
recommend
Well,
as someone who has tried it myself.
yeah, I definitely will, and just keep, have the question. I mean, I do eat quite a lot of vegetarian proteins, but this is another thing. I've got to explore this. Uh, for health reasons, I need to check out
Mhm.
whether that is, if even the level of vegetarian proteins that I eat is even good. Um,
Yeah.
I have to find out. I have to, um, kind of in a kind of program now around all this, quite independent one, but
Mhm.
through the NHS, through the, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, where I'm,
Well, yeah.
ex- you know, learning about all this stuff and tracking my meals, and, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That kind of stuff through an app and things. And I have a
Yeah.
coach. I have a
Oh, wow.
like a
Okay.
sort of nutrition health coach through that.
Yeah.
And they've let me be, normally with this program, you would be very, kind of, you'd be, you'd be going to like actual physical meetings, or at least once a month or something, on a video call with your coach and stuff. But they're like, after like my first 2 weeks of me tracking everything and just, explaining what I do and stuff, they're like, yeah, no, you're good. You can just use the app, and I'll communicate with you through the chat in the app, and that's good. Because I'm already quite, do you know what I mean? Aware of, and accountable, you know what I mean, about my food and stuff like that. So, but yeah, but I still need to ask. I haven't asked that question. Like, if I, what's, when it comes to, because it's pre-diabetes is part of it, and part of it's the cholesterol thing,
Mm.
and I've been
Yeah.
identified 5 years ago. It wouldn't have even blinked, but they've really now become more vigilant about
Hmm.
where someone's, lies in that pre-diabetic thing as
Yeah.
well as the cholesterol thing. And, so like I'm, you know, my levels are fine, but it's just like, there could be issues if you don't even make
Yeah.
further changes, that
Exactly.
you've already made huge changes over the
Right.
past several years, but you need to make more, kind of thing. And, I need to ask that in that context. So, even the
Yeah.
level I eat vegetarian, is that okay? And if I were to ever go full vegetarian, what's the implications of that for the whole pre-diet, diabetic
Hmm.
kind of thing? And, and how do you, and if it's not an issue, then how do you make it not a, how do you balance, what do you need to do to balance that even, you know that even more, so it doesn't, you know what I mean, with the blood sugar levels and all that. stuff.
Hmm.
So, but anyways, so there's that harm to self thing. Do you see what I mean?
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
I need to be conscious of too. So
Well, the most important thing I would say is, your health. So
yeah,
for
exactly.
sure, do what is
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for talking through all this. I probably should get going, but I
yeah,
really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
that you taking the time and your patience through all of the technical difficulties, the multiple technical issues we
Yeah,
had,
we
both just as they were and also caused by my human my human error of leaning on the volume button. Anyway, um, but yeah, thanks for
yeah,
talking through all this, and we'll keep talking about it. It's definitely yeah, this is definitely not one that's it doesn't seem like anyway it's going to be resolved anytime soon. But as I say, could be
yeah,
resolved in a week or two. You know,
yeah.
through the the way Amita works with things. But anyway,
All
all right.
right. Well, take care and happy New Year. Have a happy
Yes,
New Year.
and to you. And I hope
Yes.
your moves goes well. What's the next week look like?
Yeah. Next week should be okay if it is a Sunday.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
If you want to meet again,
Okay.
I believe it's the 7th.
Uh, yeah, I think it would be the 7th. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
7th.
Yeah,
Yep.
we can certainly
Okay.
we can address the sort of the proofs of the larger sutras, the
Yes.
teaching for which
Yeah.
the Shakyamuni appear to.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a really
definitely.
interesting question, and I actually did quite a bit of my own research on
Oh, good.
it, so I could share
Thank you
some
for
of.
doing that. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that because I'm like I said, I can see the stuff in the first two sections. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's I'm with
yeah.
you, I'm with you. No, I'm not with you now. And then at the end, when
Lost me.
there's the
You lost
commentary, and
me.
then the conclusion, I'm like, yep, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I just don't see how that ties into the in between stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I kind of do because of what they reference, but I'm like, it still doesn't. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a great conversation to have, I think.
yeah, good, definitely. It's more of a guess it's more of just a how does that work Dharma question. It's not really a doubt. It's just like I just don't see it. Why can't
Yeah,
I see it? You know. So
for sure.
anyway,
For sure.
yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
take care. And shall we say some Nimbutsu on the way out?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's gasho and Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, All right.
Yes.
Well, we'll
Thank
see
you.
you again next week.
Yes. Take care and have a great New Year's.
All right. You
All
too.
right.
Happy
All the
New Year.
best. Bye.
Bye.